Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. A talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Ron Hart. And we're going to be discussing Ron's incredible book, Are You Kidding Me? Amazing Occurrences in My Life. Man, I'm telling you, it's going to have you asking just that by the time we've concluded here. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places. Head on over there, pick up your copies today, and figure out why this is a book you need to add to your shelf. Before we go any further, I want to quickly point out the fact that Ron was brought to us by one of the best firms in the business, City of Books. So for my writers out there who have gone through their process, if you need some assistance moving that book you developed, people contact City of Books. They're one of the best movers in the business. You're going to have to head on over to cityofbooks.com and gather all the ways that they're going to help you move your creative endeavors. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Ron here on the line. Yeah, I mentioned it to you a second ago. People, by the time we've concluded our discussion today, by the time you pick up copies of his book and you finish reading it, you are going to ask yourself that same question. All right. It is so perfectly titled. You're going to dive into a life so wild, you will constantly be asking that question. He takes us from hilarious mishaps to jaw-dropping miracles. He has lived stories that blur the line between unbelievable and unforgettable. There's everything sprinkled in here. Sit back and strap in, because when I tell you you're in for a roller coaster of a ride, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, listen, man, Ron's going to be the expert. He's the man of the hour, and he's going to be able to articulate it all much better than I ever could. Let's get him here with us. Ron, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Thank you for that opening. I don't know if I qualify for all of that, but thank you for a great opening. I appreciate that.
Ron, listen, it was my pleasure, man. Honestly, your book is something magnificent. I could not believe certain things that I was reading when I had it, and I know my listening audience is going to feel the exact same way. It really is a pleasure. Thank you for being here with us. Let's jump right in. Your book is a memoir of sorts, so we're going to cover your background as well as so much more, but let's dive right in, man. Are you kidding me? Tell us a little bit more about it.
All right. The book is a collection of amazing occurrences in my life. And as you were saying, some are embarrassing, some are hilarious. Others are head-scratching or life-altering. And there's over 50 stories taking place in the book. And just to highlight a few, in one, I was newly married, strolling through downtown Maracaibo, Venezuela, showing my wife the city that I had adopted and just come to love. And I'd worked there 2 years previously when a vehicle drives up beside us and three young women leaning out the windows, waving at me, calling my name. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? All I know is I wasn't holding my wife's hand anymore, and I couldn't fall through the sidewalk. There's serious stories there, too. The longest, 24. When I was 53, I had a heart attack one evening, not with a lot of symptoms, but I knew something was wrong. I went to the ER. When I got in the ER, they told me I was having a heart attack. But here it was, late in the evening. I have to have life-saving bypass surgery first thing in the morning.
Wow.
And my mind is scrambled. My father died my grandfather died of a heart attack at 53 also. My father had a heart attack at 68, and he never woke up following bypass surgery. All these things are in my head.
Yeah.
Who do you call? What do you say? Is this my last conversation with my son? My daughters are in middle and high school. My mom, I have 5 siblings, and it was just tough. But I tried to grasp that emotion as I went through that night in the book.
Ron, my goodness, man. Listen, first and foremost, I'm right there with you. Such a scary moment, and especially given your family's history, man, it would make anyone's palms sweaty and very nervous. So that is some relatable content there, and I'm right there with you. I do want to go back to that first story. Man, listen, for you, and also for my wife listening in as well, I'll tell you what you don't do, Ron, is when those women come up to you, you don't let your wife's hand go. You do anything. But if it were me, man, I got my blinders on. I'm not paying attention. I'm all of a sudden deaf. I'm like, wait, look at this guy. Isn't that gorgeous? I tell you, because I'm a happily married man. Now, when I was single and in the younger days, Ron, that would have been a different response there. But what an incredible...
But let me remind you, these ladies were hanging out the car, and they're calling my name, and they're rolling their R's. It's Ronnie, Ronnie. So it was obvious they were talking to me.
Oh, yeah, they know you.
Like, oh, my goodness. Yeah, I was just like, and they actually worked with a baseball team.
Got
so
it.
I knew them from being with a baseball team. But, of course, my wife didn't know that.
Yeah, no. Every man's dream quickly turns into a nightmare because your wife is there witnessing all of this, and that's never going to end well for you. So I get it. You're right. I want to transition here, man, because from a standpoint of inspiration, I'm really curious. With a life filled with so many adventures, so many things that have happened, when you were creating this book, how did you manage to go through the process and determine what stories are going to make the final cut and which ones, unfortunately, are going to have to stay on the drawing room floor?
That's hard to answer because as I started writing, it just flowed. It just flowed through my pen onto paper and then ultimately typing it onto the computer. And one memory triggered another memory, and it just rolled and rolled. And then I did go back and began to edit it, delete some, and do other things and add other parts in. People have told me, how did you remember certain things? But when you look at the stories, I could never forget the details on these stories because they were so impactful.
Yeah. Okay. Another one here. Your stories, they of course span across your life, but also across your travels. Now, you mentioned that you traveled through, or these stories take place over 3 different continents. Which continent of the 3 delivered the most unexpected adventures?
I would have to say North America because that's where I was at most of the time. And again, that's where the majority of the stories are. But again, these stories and occurrences have been throughout my life. Just watching God's hand work on my life, no matter where I was, be it in Europe or be it in South America. He was always there. I didn't always feel his presence, but when I look back, it was obvious that he was with me.
People, I'm telling you, this is a fantastic book that you need to add to your shelf. Again, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble. The book is called Are You Kidding Me? Amazing Occurrences in My Life by Ron Hart. Type it into a search bar, man. You're going to be greeted with all of it. And I'm telling you, this is one you're not going to want to put down. Filled with so many amazing stories. And like he just mentioned, man, they're not all just great, fun stories. There's a variety. They're all over the spectrum in terms of the emotions that they will be able to elicit and how they're going to resonate with each individual reader. This is one you can't pass up. Ron, my follow-up question that I want to go into, you started to tell us some of your stories before, and we heard a couple. Was there a moment throughout your life, and it could be with any one of the stories that made it into the book, or maybe one that didn't, but was there ever a moment where you look at it and thinking back to it now, it either makes you cringe, makes you laugh, makes you cry when you think about it today, just the thought of it and driving down memory lane?
When I look at that and try to answer that question, as you said, there's so many different occurrences there and so many different stories. But maybe the one that was most stunning was when I developed Guillain-Barré. And again, what is Guillain-Barré? It's the nerve disorder where your system begins to work against your nerves and you begin to lose strength in your hands and in your feet. and ultimately become paralyzed, and some people can pass away from it. Wow. But this disease that I got began to come on to me, and I happened to go to a good doctor that I knew, and that's part of the amazing thing. Here I have this very rare disease. I go to a doctor who I knew through the baseball affiliations that I had, and he looked at me and he asked me a couple questions, and it was just like bingo. He says, he sat me down and he to sit right here. It was late in the day. He called a friend and said, I need you to stay open. I'm sending Ron over to see you. Please do me a favor. Stay open. I think he has Guillain-Barré, but you need to check him out. And then he hung up the phone with that doctor, that neurologist, and he looked me straight in the eye. And I had known this doctor for probably 6-7 years. And he looked me straight in the eye and said, you are going to see this doctor. He says, he is going to put you in the hospital, and you're not going to quit. You're not going to do anything, but you're going to follow his orders, and you're going to be in the hospital tonight. You have got to go. And again, I was a brand new dad. I had a son that was only 4 months old. And I'm like, what do you mean? And when I saw that neurologist, I didn't realize how bad I was until he did a simple test on me. He told me to strip down to my underwear, and then he took a large safety pin, and because he says, look up and close your eyes, and began to scratch my legs, look like X marks from my feet up to the middle of my thighs, and just said, tell me if this is dull or sharp, dull or sharp. And I kept saying dull, and he kept Xing on both my legs. And then he said, okay, you can open your eyes. And I looked down, and both my legs were bleeding where he had scratched me deep enough to break the skin. Wow. And I'm saying, no, I feel nothing. It's all dull. And it just brought home that my first doctor was there, knew what he was doing, brought me to another doctor. And the story in the book has more about that, too. Just how blessed I was to have the right doctors at the right time.
Ron, that brings up a great point, man. As we start to transition now and close out of the interview, my last couple of questions, and this next one I think plays into a great message of your book. Because, of course, we've spent some time now talking about again, at least that very first one, which was so impactful. And it obviously is very fun, right? And any man out there listening, we've all had moments in our lives, either when we were younger, whatever, where we're like, man, I wish a girl would just come up to me and just look at me. And yeah, the multiple happen at once. And that's fun. And there's something great about that. But also the other stories in which you've told that are much more grounded, much more severe, and at first glance seem daunting, seem harrowing, but also offer wisdom and so much advice. I want to go there next. What would you say throughout your life? What is the biggest lesson that you've learned from living such an unpredictable life that if you could step into a time machine and go back to a younger self and you took the lesson here, what would be one piece of advice that you would give him?
I would look at myself and I would say, Ron, you have been blessed in your life. You need to recognize that. You need to lean on your experiences and grow from them and be a better person because of it and serve better because of it also. I have just multitudes of blessings that aren't mentioned in the book that my former employees, as I was a manager, my employees still call me and talk to me even though I've been retired for a few years. It just rolls back to you. When you're good to people, it comes back to you. They call me and talk to me about their family situations and how we can just talk together and help each other out. It's just an incredible blessing. And it's all because as we built teamwork and built a situation where we had a family-oriented work situation, that it just flowed back, and it's been blessing me in many ways that I could never expect.
Ron, my final question for you, man. We have discussed so much information here today. You've been dropping some great pieces of information. Close us out, man. Is there anything else you would like to let our listening audience know before we let you go?
Yes, there is. I just want to say that after writing just a few chapters, the purpose of the book became apparent. It wasn't just to tell my story. It was to encourage others as well. As we write or look back on the occurrences in one's life, they build character. Additionally, they point to the Lord who loves, cares about us, and watches over us. The final chapter concludes in discussing counting your blessings. And I quote from the old hymn where it says, "When upon life's billows you are tempted and tossed, when you are discouraged thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done." When we realize that as believers, God is always with us, it's easier to face tomorrow with confidence.
People, I'm delightfully surprised because I knew coming into this, again, based upon the research that I had done, based upon the excerpts from the book that I had read, like I knew that there was going to be a lot of fun here. I knew that there was going to be a wild ride of some just completely unexpected adventures. What I was not so prepared for was a lot of the wisdom that was going to be received. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I wasn't expecting there to be some education. I knew that there was, because of course, listen, man, our experiences equate to the wisdom that we accrue over the years, right? So obviously I got that. And I've realized, man, this is so much more than just a great read. But there is something about being here with Ron and listening to him talk and the blessings that he has received in his lifetime that really put things into perspective. His book is something magnificent. And one of the things that is just so crystal clear for me, and I know it is for you as well, life's most unexpected moments often become our greatest blessings in disguise. And listen, it doesn't feel like that in the moment, right? I look back on my life in some of the hardest moments that I had to deal with oftentimes have been some of my greatest lessons and my greatest teachings. And because of that, it has shaped and molded me into the individual that I have become and the individual that I'm going to continue to evolve into. And Ron's book, man, it's going to help you realize so much. It is so much larger than just a fun read. That it is. But the moments that he discusses in the book, read in between the lines, man. They are moments that are gifts. They were for him, and they will absolutely be for you as well. And because of that, I'm going to say it again. Man, listen, you got to pick up your copies. It's Amazon. It's Barnes & Noble. The book is called Are You Kidding Me? You're going to be asking yourself just that. Head on over there, pick up your copies today, and get lost in this amazing book. Ron, this has been an absolute honor, man. I really do mean that. Such a true delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Benji, I truly appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun for me too.